Hey, you guys, I can't believe I'm going to tell you this, but I just got to go to Disney World in Orlando, Florida, and I can't wait to tell you all about it. But first, welcome back to my channel. My name is Julie. I have a unique perspective on things because I am a little person. I'm only 3 feet tall, and I'm also blind. And I love Disney World, but I had not been for almost 20 years. And to be honest with you, I didn't expect to get to go back anytime soon, if ever. But I had this opportunity to go, and I'm so grateful. It was wonderful. It was such a fun trip. I got to go with my mom and two of our friends. And I wanted to do this video because I want to share some of my stories with you about what Disney World was like. And I also wanted to share some of the things that I learned about how to enjoy a Disney theme park when you're visually impaired or when you have some kind of other special need to consider. So I'm going to just kind of share my perspective with you and give you some of the tips that I learned along the way. So I spent a lot of time planning this trip ahead of time. And the first thing I want to tell you is that I got to work with a Disney travel agent who helped me so much with planning my trip. Did you know that you can actually work with a travel agent to plan a Disney trip for free? And it's so amazing. They will help you with so many things. And my travel agent's name was Kristen Branham. Shout out to Kristen. Thank you so much for all of your help. She was absolutely amazing. I'm going to put the link to her information in the description so you can check out her website and maybe you would want to use her for your next Disney trip. Or she also books Disney cruises or trips to Universal Studios as well. But she was so cool. She answered all of my millions of questions. We spent so much time on the phone, bless her heart. I am a lot. So she was very patient and sweet to help me process all of my questions and all the details. She helped book reservations for restaurants and other things. And she's just a rock star. So, yay, she's such a great detail person. So, I couldn't have planned this trip without her. She was very helpful to my mom and me and our other friends as well. So, okay, I also wanted to tell you. So, we went to 3 of the 4 Disney parks in Orlando. We did not go to Animal Studios, but we did go to Magic Kingdom, Epcot, and Hollywood Studios. And I do have to say, I'm sorry, I did not vlog this trip at all. I had really thought about it for a while and I thought it would be really fun. But I'm still new at this YouTube thing and I haven't really done a lot of vlogging yet. And I thought the Disney trip is not the place to figure out how to do all that. I wanted to be present as much as possible and not be distracted by thinking, oh, I need to get a video of this. So I do apologize. I don't have anything fun for you to watch, but I will share my stories with you and tell you all the fun highlights. So when I go to a theme park, I love rides, and I especially love the rides at Disney. There are so many good ones, classics, as well as new rides. Now, because I'm a little person, I am only 36-ish inches tall. I can pretty much just ride the little kid rides. Now at Disney, there were so many of those that it's still very worth it for me to go because I love them, all the good kid rides. But I will be honest and tell you that there were a few rides that I was just barely too short for. I was 2 inches too short for 3 of them in particular. There was the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, and I gotta tell you, I thought, hey, I was born with dwarfism. I belong on the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, right? But no, I was too short. And then the other ones were Thunder Mountain Railroad, which they just redid, by the way, and I was super excited to try it out and then realized I'm too short. I can't get on it. And then the other one was Slinky Dog Dash at Hollywood Studios. I would have loved to try that one too. But yeah, too short. But I still had fun. But I have to be honest, there's part of my heart that's like, okay, I have a 2-year-old niece. She is tall for her age, but she is tall enough at age 2 to go on all these rides, Slinky Dog Dash and Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. And I am 42 years old and I can't go. Ah, that stinks. So that is one downside to being a little person. But you know what? Even though I didn't get to go, I still enjoyed what I did get to do. And one of the rides I did get to ride, is at Magic Kingdom, is called the Barnstormer, and it's like a little baby roller coaster. And I loved that one. That was the only coaster that I got to do, and I really treasure that memory of doing it because it is actually a little roller coaster, so I could say, "Yay, I did a roller coaster!" But that was one of my favorite rides. Let's see. I'll tell you more about more rides here in a second. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes, and by looking I mean reading Braille. Okay, one of the amazing things about this trip is Disney has a handheld device that you can get from guest relations, and it comes with an earpiece or headphones or whatever. And when you use this device as you're walking around the parks, it actually describes everything to you as you're walking around the parks and also when you go on rides. So that was incredible. I got to try that device for the first time and I really loved it. And that made it so enjoyable for me to get to experience all these things with someone telling me all about the visual things that were going on around me that I normally have no idea about. I actually am filming an entire video just about that device and how it works. So keep an eye out for that video. I will link it in the description when I can. And actually, I'm planning to post that one right after this video. So if you're interested in learning more about that device and exactly how it works and all the details, just stay tuned. That will be coming next. So even without that device and the audio description, I would have still enjoyed Disney a lot because I love the music and the sound effects and the motion of the rides and just like all the audio of the shows and everything. But having that description made the experience even better and a lot more fun. So some of my favorite rides of the trip were at Magic Kingdom. I loved Small World and Peter Pan, the classics. The Country Bear Jamboree was adorable. They've changed it sometime recently, and I loved it. It was so much fun to sing along with the silly little bears. Um, at Magic Kingdom, one of the last rides we did was the Haunted Mansion. And funny story, we actually got stuck on the Haunted Mansion for a little while. The ride broke down while we were on it. And yeah, it was interesting. We were just riding along and all of a sudden it stopped. And we're like, I don't think it's supposed to stop this long. And then it kept going a little bit more. And then after another minute or two, it stopped. And that time it was probably, I don't even know, 5 or 10 minutes of just sitting there and waiting for them to tell us what was going to happen next. So, it was really amusing. I enjoyed it on some level, but then the other part of me was thinking, okay, this is not the ride to get stuck on because it's creepy. There were ghosts everywhere, and you're sitting here going, whoa, whoa, whoa. And I'm like, are we going to be in here forever? So, anyway. Oh, and the running joke about the Haunted Mansion is that they're going to keep you forever. You're going to join them. So, anyway, I found that to be both weird, creepy, and amusing. Oh, wait, that was 3 things, and I said the word both. Sorry. Yeah, it was an experience. Okay, so at Epcot, one of my favorite things, believe it or not, was the Beauty and the Beast sing along. It was so fun. You can find that in the France pavilion, the France country in Epcot, and it's in the little theater, the French theater. And it was just so cute and so sweet. And I grew up loving Beauty and the Beast. And I know all the songs pretty much by heart. Maybe not every single one and every single word, but I know them well enough to sing along, even though I can't see the words on the screen. But I loved that I could sing along as loud as I want and no one would be annoyed with me because everyone was singing along. And then the other sing along show that I loved, actually, this was at Hollywood Studios. I loved the Frozen show. Oh, it was so cute and so funny. And I could sing Let It Go at the top of my lungs, and everyone around me was also singing it. So, yes, 5 stars. Loved it. The other thing I loved at Hollywood Studios was Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. So cute, so fun, and it was really great with audio description. So yeah. So you might be curious about just the overall experience for me, what it was like not being able to see and having mobility issues and being short and all that kind of stuff. And I am not going to lie to you. I will be honest and tell you that there were times at Disney when I was a little sad because there was something I couldn't see or I wasn't able to experience something like everyone else was experiencing it. But I will also tell you that before I went on this trip, I had a little conversation with myself and I decided that this opportunity was so special and so cool. I made up my mind ahead of time that I was just going to have fun no matter what. And even if there were sad moments or tough moments, that was okay because I could feel those moments of sadness, but my main focus was just going to be on the awesome stuff and the fun things. And that's what happened. I enjoyed it so much, and I have so many happy memories from this trip that I'm going to hold on to forever. Even though parts of it were kind of a bummer, oh, I can't see what everyone else is oohing and awing over or whatever. But I just tried to have the right mindset and say, thank you, Lord, that I'm on this trip. And it's just so, so special, especially getting to be there with my mom. That was a blast. It was great to have mother-daughter time at Disney. We also, besides going on fun rides and seeing the fun shows, we got to eat some really yummy food. And the food highlights were in Magic Kingdom, we went to Gaston's Tavern, and my mom and I shared a creme brulee croissant. Oh, so yummy. And then in Epcot in France, we went to a crepe restaurant and got to eat some yummy crepes. And then at Hollywood Studios, we had lunch at the 50s Primetime Cafe. And shout out again to Kristen, who helped us get the reservation for that restaurant. We were so glad we had a reservation because the day we were there, it was so busy. We heard someone else asking if they could get a table, and the server said sorry, or the hostess said sorry, we are all booked for the entire day. So thank you, Kristen. We could not have done it without you. It was so delicious and so fun. I love the atmosphere of that restaurant. Our waitress was wonderful and funny, and I splurged and I ordered a root beer float for my drink because I just thought, hey, I'm celebrating. Life is sweet. I don't remember the last time I had a root beer float, and it was just so delicious. And the food was really good too. So yeah. Yeah. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about some logistics, some things that were like, for me, walking around the park is not possible. I am very short. I get tired when I'm walking very easily, very quickly. And sometimes I have joint pain when I walk too much. So when I go to a theme park or any place that's big, I have a wheelchair that I ride around in. So I was in my wheelchair at Disney. My mom was so gracious and pushed me around for 3 days. We walked, I think, 17 miles. And she was such a trooper. And thank you, Mom, for pushing me. This was really helpful for me. I didn't have to walk and be exhausted and in pain. I think I would have collapsed by 10 o'clock the first day. But it also helped that I was sitting in my wheelchair when we were waiting in lines for rides and stuff. So that was really great. And then when I would get on a ride, I was able to transfer from my wheelchair into the ride vehicle. So that was, pretty doable. And the cast members are really nice. So if you are also a wheelchair user, when you go and get in line for a ride, the cast member will ask you, are you comfortable with transferring? And then if you're not, they will help you figure out what the best plan is. Some rides have wheelchair accessible vehicles, or they have a wheelchair that you can transfer into and then it helps you get under the ride from there. So there are lots of options if you want to investigate that and talk to the cast members and see what they can help you with. So another logistical thing for me is I always need help when I'm in a public place using the restroom. Things are not accessible for me at all in most restrooms. So my mom helps me with that. And one cool thing at Disney was they had companion restrooms in different places. And if you want to find out where those are, they are all listed in the app. The app for Disney, when you go to a Disney park, is called My Disney Experience. And you can look up where all the restrooms are in the park, and then you can also filter it by just specifically looking for companion restrooms. So I thought that was a handy tip because that was really helpful for us. And speaking of restrooms, I can never reach sinks at public restrooms. That's just part of my life story. So I always have germ killing hand wipes in my purse. And then at Disney, I had a little pouch instead of a purse. So I had those hand wipes in a purse. So anytime I was about to eat or use the restroom or whatever, I would pull out my little hand wipes and just help my hands get all clean. It was wonderful. So that's another tip for you, something I highly recommend. So if you or someone you know has a special need or disability, you might have heard about the DAS Pass at Disney. It's DAS. It stands for Disability Access Service. Sorry. But it's a special pass that you can get that basically is kind of like a lightning lane, which is the new Fast Pass. And it gives you a time that you can go to a ride, and then you get to stand in the shorter line. So it's a much shorter wait. So the thing is, a lot of people, when I was telling my friends that I was getting to go to Disney, I had multiple people tell me, you've got to get a DAS Pass. They will definitely give you one. And it's so helpful. But I found out that Disney has actually changed their policy now within the last year or two, and they give DAS passes to people that have developmental disabilities, things like autism. You have to have a reason why you truly cannot stand in a line for a very long time. So I found that out. I did call and ask, because the way it works is you do a video chat with a Disney cast member, and you tell them your story, and they tell you if you do or don't qualify for a DAS Pass. So I did that. The lady was very nice, but she told me that I did not qualify because I am blind and I'm little, but those issues do not make it very difficult or impossible for me to stand in a line. And she told me that even though I am a wheelchair user, that the lines at Disney are all wheelchair friendly. They've worked really hard to make that a reality. Everything should be wheelchair accessible. I did find that to be true. The only line that was not wheelchair accessible was at Epcot when I went to Spaceship Earth. They told me that line was not wheelchair friendly. So what they did is they gave me a time to come back, and I think it was like 20 minutes later or something. I think it's equal to the time that you would have waited in the line if you could stand in the line, right? So the funny thing though was the cast member at first said, come back at 11:20 or whatever time it was. And somehow though, I think it was just a fluke, but we ended up getting to go right in instead. Like, I think there was another cast member that we talked to just a minute later, and they're like, oh, come on in. So I can't guarantee that's going to happen for you. If you go to Spaceship Earth, they may not let you in instantly. They might give you a time to come back. But either way, it was a good system because, the wheelchair wouldn't fit in the line, but they made an allowance for that and made it work. So another tip I have for you is I am blind, just so you know. I basically just see blurry light. And I was thinking about this before my trip to Disney. I was thinking, when you go to a big theme park like that, there are a lot of people that you're interacting with in a day. And I know, like, if you're meeting a character, they might wave at you, or they might shake your hand, or, whoever, whatever. There are a lot of logistics to consider for me. And I had this idea because I've heard that, and I know that a lot of people get buttons that they wear on their shirt at Disney. They say something like, I'm celebrating my birthday or my anniversary or whatever. And I had this idea to have a button that just said, I'm blind, because I thought that would be really helpful for all the people that I was interacting with throughout the day at the Disney parks. And so I thought maybe I could buy one online, and they do have them. They're cute and they say different things. And you know what? If you have another special need, I recommend doing this for you too, not just if you're blind. They had buttons online that said, I need space, or other things I can't even remember. But especially if you have an issue that might not be obvious when someone looks at you, because that's my situation. When I meet people for the first time, they typically can't tell that I'm blind just by looking at me. So sometimes it's kind of awkward because they might try to shake my hand or something, and I'd have no idea because I can't see them. So I loved having a button. Oh, I was going to say, I tried to order one online, but I couldn't get one in time for the trip. So basically, I just ordered a bunch of blank buttons, and my mom used a marker and just wrote "I'm blind" on it. And I wore that every day at Disney. That was really helpful because it gave the cast members a heads up when they saw me, especially as I was getting on and off of rides or situations like that where it just helped the cast member to know, oh, okay, she's going to need a little extra help, a little more time to, get on and off or whatever. They were very helpful and very friendly. And I think part of it is that they saw not only am I 3 feet tall, but my button says I'm blind. So don't wave at me and offer to help a little more than maybe someone else. So totally recommend doing that. It was really great. I could tell that people were able to read that and then go, oh, okay, we'll make more accommodations, right? So let's see, what's the next thing on my list? Oh, I have some more advice for you. If you are someone who is visually impaired and you want to plan a trip to Disney, I very much recommend that you go ahead and download the app called My Disney Experience. Do that ahead of time before your trip and start to get familiar with it. If you are an iPhone user and you use VoiceOver to access your phone, I can tell you from my experience that the My Disney Experience app is very accessible, I would say, for the most part. There were a few things that were a little tricky, but a lot of it was really accessible. The thing is, the app has so many features and so many different things you can do with it. You could use it a lot as you're planning your trip ahead of time, and then you can also use it in the park. And you probably will use it a lot in the park too. So, another pro tip, take a phone charger. So I can tell you about VoiceOver with an iPhone because that's what I use. If you use a different platform or a different screen reader, I apologize. I don't know about the accessibility with those things, but generally the app was pretty VoiceOver friendly. There was a map in the app that shows you where all the attractions are, and I knew I wasn't going to get a lot of use out of the map, so I didn't use that. But on that same screen with the map, there is a button that says show list view or show list or something. And I clicked that, and that was great because that just presented all the information about the attractions in a nice, neat list that I could scroll through. So that's another tip. But get familiar with everything as much as you can ahead of time. Read all about the attractions and shows and things that are available, and that way you can kind of decide what you really want to do, what your priorities are. And in the app, you can click on an attraction and find out all the information about it. And each attraction has info about accessibility and safety and all that kind of good stuff, things that you can kind of get familiar with and learn ahead of time. So that way you're prepared to go on your trip and you know what's available to you and what makes sense for your particular situation. Now, there's one thing I will tell you that I had a lot of trouble with the app and VoiceOver, and that is lightning lanes. We did buy lightning lanes for 2 of the parks we visited, and if you're not familiar with lightning lanes, they are the new version of FastPass. And I was able to book lightning lanes ahead of time. Like I was able to make the initial purchase on my phone with VoiceOver. That part was good, but I wanted to then go back in and modify the times for the rides that I had chosen, or maybe try to swap to a different ride. And that part of the experience for me with the app with VoiceOver was very tricky. I could not do it most of the time. It got kind of frustrating, to be honest, because I was trying to modify things and do things quickly, and VoiceOver kept having major issues. It's like maybe the screen kept refreshing, and so VoiceOver kept just jumping back to the top of the screen over and over. So I do plan to contact Disney and let them know about that in case they don't know, and hopefully they can get it fixed. But as of right now, it is currently June 2026. I took my trip in May though. at that point, the app was not great with voiceover with lightning lanes. So if you are going to do that, I very much recommend that you have a sighted companion with you who can help you to navigate the lightning lane process. Um, Help them, make sure they're familiar and can help you in the moment when you're at the park. Another tip I have to tell you, this is something that was so helpful for me. I was actually kind of the planner for our group. I did a lot of the planning ahead of time to figure out what we were going to do when and how it was all going to fit together. And one of the tools I used a lot was ChatGPT. And you can use whatever AI app you prefer. But I asked GPT a million questions about Disney, the layout of each park. I had it describe the parks to me so that I knew. So, for example, in Magic Kingdom, I had it explain where each land was. So I memorized, okay, so first you go to Tomorrowland, and then next to that is Fantasyland, and then there's Liberty Square. I memorized where everything was located and what rides were in each land. So that way I was prepared to help lead our group when we were there. And I kind of made a little bit of a plan of what we were going to do when and how we were going to navigate through the park so that it made the most sense and we weren't walking all over the place trying to get everything done. I asked ChatGPT about the location of each ride, like where it is compared to other things. And I would say, well, how long do you think it would take to walk from Dumbo to Peter Pan or whatever I was doing? That was really helpful because it actually could tell me all of that. And I would say, do you think it would be a good strategy to go from, Dumbo to Winnie the Pooh or whatever? It was so great. It was like having a friend who could walk me through everything. And it was also really cool to say, is the queue for Winnie the Pooh outside or inside? Or what is a good indoor activity near this area of the park? That was also really helpful because it was hot when we were there in May, and there were times when we just really wanted to get inside into the AC. So I already knew in my head, or I could also look up when we were there. I would ask ChatGPT, what's a good indoor activity near me or whatever. So all of that was so, so helpful. I found all kinds of great information using ChatGPT, and I was able to plan and get as familiar with everything as I could. The other thing I did that I really found helpful was I made a list of the priorities that we had for this trip, like which rides we really wanted to do or which shows or whatever. And I made a little list and then I had it on my phone. And then I also put where everything was, and I had it available that way to reference really quickly. I would just pull it up on my phone and be like, oh, wait, we wanted to do blah, 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 and it's in this place. So making yourself little cheat sheets is helpful too. I also found it helpful. I made a little cheat sheet of like which lands were where in the park. So stuff like that was really great. Yeah, I just gave you a whole boatload of information. I hope some of it at least was helpful and that you're not bored to tears. But I really wanted to share the things that I learned because I found it to be such an enjoyable experience, but it did take a lot of effort and planning to be prepared for it and to make sure that we made the most of our trip and that we could enjoy as much as possible. And I'm so glad I did as much planning as I did because it all worked out really well. We had a great time. I got to do so many fun things. And now I want to hear from you. Do you enjoy Disney World? Have you been? Have you been to Disneyland or another Disney theme park somewhere else in the world? I want to hear your story. And if you have not been yet, but you want to go, I would love to talk about that too. So comment below. Tell me all your thoughts about Disney. Are you someone with a special need, or are you visually impaired or have some other disability? And what was your experience at Disney? I'd love to hear from you. And if you have any questions about anything I've shared today or how to make the most out of your Disney trip, please feel free to comment and ask me your questions too. All right, everybody, I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the next video. Zippity doo dah. Bye.